Welcome to my channel Living Linux. In this video I'm going to have a look at Fedora on RISC-V and in my case specifically the Muse Pi Pro. So here we have the website of, I assume, Fedora-V Force, and it's a technical team focused on porting and building the Linux kernel and Fedora distribution based on the RISC-V architecture as well as firmware development. So SpacemiT and Milk5, well, those I recognize as companies that sell RISC-V hardware. Radxa, well, I'm not really sure if they sell any RISC-V hardware at the moment, but I mainly know them from ARM. But we'll get back to that later on. So here you see some of the team members. So if we look at the Fedora images that are available, and I assume that will be expanded in the future, but they already have several images for RISC-V boards. So if this website wants to load, then yes, here it comes. So you can see that there are several chips supported. So in my case, SpacemiT K1 or M1. And then we can see there is an image for the Muse Pi Pro. Now, if we compare that with the, let's just say, the upstream or mainstream Fedora or mainline, then for instance, if we take the Banana Pi F3, which has the same chip, then yeah, there's still a procedure that you have to follow to get things working, and I think it's only a server image and not really a desktop or workstation image. So for instance, with this image you can just write it to, well, in my case, a micro SD card, and it will boot without having to do anything like a procedure to get things working. The only thing is that it can take quite a while before everything is fully booted, so yeah, give it a couple of minutes before giving up. So yeah, it's unfortunately, yeah, we're on the 19th of November 2025. So yeah, I think you still have to consider it more like a development build. It's not ready for general use. So let's first have a look at the system information. So you can see kernel 6.6.63. I think that's the vendor kernel. There is a GPU driver, and we're running on Wayland. So as I said, there is a GPU driver. Yeah, I already showed that with, for instance, Biambu. So I already built vkQuake. So if we run that with Mongo Hut, so like this. So it's with default settings, and I'm keeping the window a little bit smaller so that we have a better frame rate. So you can see that it is possible to play Quake, although sometimes you do see some drops in the frame rate, but I think this looks playable to me. So I think we get the idea of Quake. So one of the other things that is working is local video playback, but that's also where I noticed that we do have some issues with the software, and yeah, it might be that you have to find some alternative that is working better. So in this case we have a VP9 video file, 24 frames per second, and it's not really 1080p, but sort of like a widescreen close to 1080p. Now if we started with the default videos application, then it's going to be very slow, so definitely not using the VPU, unfortunately. I hope that they will be able to access the VPU in the future. So this is probably not even 1 frame per second, even worse. So let's stop this one. So like I said, it might be that you have to search for some alternatives that will work better. So in this case, I went with MPV. So now you can see that it's a lot smoother. But if we look at the CPU load, then you can see that there is a considerable load on the CPU, so yeah, it's probably not running fully on the VPU. So yeah, I also tried some other things, and yeah, unfortunately I did run in a lot of issues. So let's see, one of the other things is oh yeah, just a simple image viewer. So I switched to Eye of Gnome, but I think yeah, there is a default image viewer, but for some reason I wasn't able to get that working. So we'll go with Eye of Gnome. So here is one of the other issues. I think we're missing a key somewhere. So it will complain about installing unsigned software. I think the things from the Koji repository. Yeah, I think unless you're like really concerned about security, but I think in general this is not really an issue, and perhaps if you can install the key, then you can get rid of this warning. So as you can see, I tried to install Warzone 2100 and well, that actually installed. But when I tried to run it, I ran into some errors. Here you can see I also tried Llama CPP. I was able to get rid of this error by installing the C development package or C compiler package. And here you can also see skipped PGP checks, so probably that's also the issue with the key. So yeah, I think this has to be considered a development build. I ran into a lot of issues. Some of them can be solved, for instance, like by installing Eye of Gnome instead of the default image viewer. And I also tried Box64, but then I ran into this issue that there seems to be a clash between Box64 and QEMU. So if you go to the available software, then here you can see that Boxes is installed, and Boxes is for virtual machines, and that's why QEMU is installed. But that clashes with Box64 for some reason. Now, I also installed Chromium, as you can see here. So let's just say we want to start Chromium. And well, perhaps you will run into a fatal error, but if you're lucky, it will only be warnings. So, but you can see that there's still a lot of work to be done to get things, let's just say 100% stable. Well, here we have Chromium. So, but what if we try WebGL Aquarium? Yeah, that's not really nice to do it like that. Well, under normal circumstances, it will tell you that WebGL is not supported for some reason, but that doesn't even show up now. But it is possible to get around that, because we saw vkQuake is working, so that means that Vulkan is working, and then we can start Chromium through zink, so that means OpenGL on Vulkan. So if we try it like this, and then we still get a lot of warnings or even errors. But here we are again. So if we go to WebGL Aquarium now, Then, well, now it does start, but everything is very, very slow. And I think even when everything is loaded, then it's still just on 1 frame per second. So let's just say, even if we go back to one fish, if it wants to. So it's still busy loading in all the assets. And I think I see one shark over there. So now almost everything is loaded. And it's still on 1 frame per second. So yeah, that's also something that probably needs some attention. So as I said before, this is not really ready for general use. You have to consider this to be a development build. But I think it's always a good thing that you get more options. So in this case, if you have a RISC-V board, you can check if it's also available for your RISC-V system. And then, yeah, if you don't mind trying some stuff, and yeah, don't be discouraged by any errors or those kind of things, then yeah, have a look at the Fedora-V Force website and test one of those images. And there's actually one more thing. So you can see here, you can also switch to ARM. And the people that have seen one of my earlier videos, then actually I already tested their image on the Radxa Dragon Q6A. That's not RISC-V, but that is ARM. So hopefully they can also expand their images here. For instance, like Rockchip RK3588, there are a lot of boards for that chip, but at the moment only one image available. And here you can see the Radxa Dragon Q6A. That's the image that I tested in one of my previous videos. So yeah, it's, I think, always a good thing to have everything supported with Mainline, but yeah, sometimes it is quicker to do things a little bit quick and dirty, you might say, but then at least you can have a look at Fedora on more hardware. So this is all for now, and I hope to see you again in my next video.